Well, hey everybody, I'm really glad to have you all with us today for hanging out with bar exam students. I think this is episode 22 in our series, and I have a really special guest today. This is Brenda Polk, who is a student, or former student of ours, took the Michigan bar exam, but we don't offer a Michigan course, so she took our multi-state bar exam back in February of 2016 and passed the bar. And I've invited Brenda to come on and tell her story and kind of talk about the process and what happened and what's happened since. And I think it's going to be great. So Brenda, it's glad to have you with us today.
Good. Thank you. It's good to be here.
Yeah, and it's nice to be able to see you. You and I did a lot of phone conversations during the process. So why don't you start just sort of by telling people a little bit about your background? I see lots of cool diplomas behind you. So tell folks a little bit about, where you've been and how you came to the point of being ready to take the Michigan bar.
Sure. I had a background in technical writing and then MBA, and I thought that coming back to Michigan, to my rural hometown, would be the way to use those tools as an attorney, wrap all that background together and be able to put myself in a place that made sense for me to stay. And I really felt that the law was the way to do that financially. Along the way, a lot of life happened, and I took the bar exam the summer immediately after graduating from law school in Michigan.
And when was that? What year
was that? It was July 2014.
Okay.
And didn't do well. It wasn't 1 point away or anything. Was clearly not prepared. Had done fairly well during my coursework, so I was not sure what I had done wrong, and I felt like it was a strategy for the test itself, not something missing in my knowledge. So it kind of ate at me after I did not pass that one. And one of the interesting things about my score at that point was the score that I got on the bar exam in July 2014 for the MBE portion was no different from the practice test I had started on the MBE a year prior. I had never improved on the MBE portion.
Interesting.
So that ate at me as well. Then more life happened, and my process of being able to retake the bar exam was interrupted, and I thought permanently cut off for a while. I was in a relationship and ended up getting married to someone who helped me believe that I couldn't do it, that I actually never wanted to be an attorney, that I didn't want to move home, that I couldn't pass the bar exam. In fact, none of that was for me.
So let me just be clear. So this person was negatively telling you,
yeah,
you can't be successful at this, and this isn't the right life path for you.
Yeah, actively telling me that regularly.
And what was that like? What was that process? I mean, you'd gone to law school, you'd taken the exam, you've had the results, and now someone's saying to you, hey, you shouldn't be doing this, it's the wrong thing.
Right. I mean, I felt like I had carefully chosen him. I was getting married later in life, and I thought if I'm smart enough that I knew what I wanted and I picked this person, what they're saying must be right. And there was just really flawed logic throughout the whole process, but I really believed that I couldn't do it. That's what it came down to.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So, so this went on for a while, right? With him telling you.
It did. I missed with him. I had missed 2 administrations of the exam, and then in fact it was about a year ago this week that I finally came to my senses and realized that I needed to leave the house because it was no longer safe. It had become physically abusive, and so a lot has happened in that year.
Yeah, and I appreciate you being open and transparent to share that. There are a lot of people that live in situations, Brenda, where they're not getting a lot of positive reinforcement. You were actually getting negative. It was actually quite negative.
Right.
How did you deal with that? How did you try to, at least in the context of the bar exam
right,
and your own self-worth, how did you try to protect yourself and reorient in that situation?
I forced myself, and I think it was probably for the best. I buffered myself, and maybe is the better way to put it, with seclusion. I had 1 or 2 people who I knew I could trust to talk to about the bar exam, and many, many more people who wanted to offer advice, well-intended advice that I knew wasn't ringing true, and so I needed to keep them at a greater distance. But really, it was that buffer of seclusion that was vital. And I knew that part of what I needed to include in that safe buffer was someone who was actively encouraging me, who would check back in with me, who would help me be accountable, because I knew that I had done something wrong in that first administration of the exam. It was already a real risk to my ego to be trying to take it again, because I had very effectively understood that I was never going to pass it again. And so I wanted someone who would be able to be that encouragement and to hold my hand, to hold my hand. And you did that. That was your role. I don't know if you realized that.
I had a feeling that was what was going on. Let me tell the audience a little bit about what I remember about our first interaction, because it's kind of an unusual one. Well, yeah, a little bit. You attended our free live webinar, How to Make the Next Bar Exam Your Last Bar Exam. And in that webinar, I talk about words.
I shot you questions over and over.
Oh my God, you're just going crazy. And we talked in there, and we still do, and I invite people to join us on this webinar. But we said, the words you use create the world you create. And you were asking questions about that, and you were actually quite metaphysical about, I don't know if, the universe wants me to take the bar exam, or, and of course I had no idea, obviously, what was going on in the background. But I knew that there was this incredible ambivalence that was playing out for you. Am I reading that right?
Yeah, part of what I remember about that afternoon was, was I ever supposed to go to law school?
That was it, yeah.
And it was wrapping into, is my life a waste? Because it had been, I had been convicted of that so effectively.
How sad is that? And it happens all the time with people. You have an extreme form of it, but it happens all the time with people saying, oh, you pat them on the head, go try something else. You're not really very good at, and we talk ourselves into these things, right, that we're not good at doing. So you had talked yourself into, you weren't good in law, you weren't good at taking these big time exams, you weren't good at test taking. That was a big hurdle, wasn't it?
It was, and wrapped into it was many more emotional layers because of the relationship. I thought that I didn't even know how to be a wife. I didn't know how to be a real person. I didn't know how to be a mother. And so all of that was wrapped into the bar exam, which, part of what you did so gracefully was peel back all of those other things and just get down to the bar exam is really just the test. It's not all of life.
Yeah. And what Brenda's kind of referring to is that, for those of you that don't know me very well, I'm not known for my subtlety. And so that we had a couple of what I would describe as come to Jackson conversations, right? You remember those?
One, you called me, oh, we don't know your name, you're drama mama over here. And then
nice,
the other, and then the other real significant conversation I remember having with you was the ProCon List. Drawing it up.
Talk a little bit about that, because we did do the ProCon List, and I thought that was a turning point for you. But do you remember that exercise? Yeah,
it was Thanksgiving weekend, and we I could not convince myself that it was still going to be worth it. I still, at that point in late November, I hadn't even submitted my application to take the bar exam. Mind you, I had already signed up with Jackson, I think 6 weeks earlier, and was really fiddling around, and he knew that I wasn't engaging in the coursework, and so he said, what's going on? Do you want to do this? And I couldn't come up with any good reason to do it or to not do it at that point. And so what he encouraged me to do over the weekend was sit down and really think of, okay, well, if you do this and you pass it, what are the pros out of that? And then what are the cons to trying to prepare for it? Working toward it, making time. And the con list was so ridiculous that I couldn't argue with just, at least you got to try.
Yeah, and when you did that list, and my recollection of our phone call after that was that you came back and you said, look, I've done the list. Here are the reasons why I should take the exam and what it would mean for my life to pass. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. And you said, but here are the list of cons, and they're just not significant enough to outweigh the pros. So I'm in, and I'm all in. And it was as though somebody had lit a fire under you at that point. Yeah. What changed in your brain at that stage? Thanksgiving, and I do remember it being Thanksgiving. You said, I'm going to go away, I'm going to retreat, and then, boom, and then suddenly you're just off to the races.
Yes, part of what was on that pro list was that I realized this was my open door. I didn't have any other avenues. mind you, I was living with a friend temporarily, so I didn't have a home. Part of what had been destroyed in the marriage relationship was friends and family relationships. It was such a manipulative environment that I felt at that point like I didn't have any network. I didn't have any money. I didn't have a full-time job. I had nothing. I had the one thing to look forward to was the potential opportunity that the bar exam would give me. And so it became everything. And if I really gave it my shot, my best shot, and left nothing on the table, left no regrets, which I do feel like I did back in the 2014 administration, that I could be satisfied with myself even if I did fail it, if I did fail it.
Yeah, and so at that point, or shortly thereafter, you retreated, right? You went away for a while to study. Can you talk a little bit about that and what your thinking was?
It became all I knew, all I had to look forward to. That the beauty of working with you was, it's flexible, but you had milestones for us, and so that became the rhythm of my life. Nothing else mattered, and I knew it was temporary because I had taken it before, and I knew that it would suck after a while. But you just keep doing it, and it's.
Well, there's your pull quote, folks. It would suck after a while. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine.
I can't disagree with you. Okay. So yeah, you knew it was going to be tough. You knew it was going to be this long slog through it. And so, am I correct? Didn't you go off to a mountain cabin or something? Did you go someplace different to study, or were you were at a friend's the whole time? Is that right?
Oh, I know what you're thinking of. It was a trip that I took up to the Upper Peninsula of Michigan.
Yes.
Very isolated area. And that was actually all wrapped into a weekend of closure for me for a miscarriage that had been part of the relationship as well. Yeah. So,
oh my gosh, so many things going on. So, one of the things when I do these interviews with people, it's mind-blowing to me, the hurdles that you all overcome. I mean, in life, forget the bar. I mean, but just the life hurdles that people have overcome. And your story is incredible on so many levels, Brenda. But here you've got all of these things going on, all of this loss, all of this trauma, all of this personal anxiousness, and it's on top of the bar exam, which comes with its own set of stressors and problems. How did you keep your sanity during that process? I think that's the question our audience probably wants to know. How did she keep it together?
I don't know. Honestly, if it wouldn't have been for the people surrounding me, in fact, the person I was living with is an attorney who has a practice in town. And so with her counseling, essentially, she helped keep me focused on the value of prepping for the exam. It was the encouragement of one person.
Wow, isn't that amazing? So if you can find that, so folks, if you're listening, if you can find that one person who can just be your rock, right? Who can be the encourager, she was also kind of an accountability partner for you, wasn't she?
Correct.
Yeah.
She had a kind of a vested interest.
Yeah. And I thought that, in our conversations, you would reference her and say, well, I've told her that I've gotten this much done and I've done this and I've reached these milestones.
Yeah.
Right. And
she would check in with me, did you finish this today? What did you do today? And she knew the content to some extent. She's an attorney as well, but she didn't care about what particular.
She wasn't really concerned with the rule against perpetuities. You're telling me?
No, she really was.
It's hard to believe. Yeah, but that accountability partner, that person in your life, and maybe it's a couple people, but even one who just kind of knows you're there and says, "Look, here's the objective," and just keep moving towards it, made a big difference for you, right?
And I want to add, one of my part-time jobs was at the local courthouse with some really well-intended attorneys and legal professionals who spent all fall telling me I shouldn't try to do it because they saw me as so delicate at that point. And even while I was studying, they would say things like, well, when you're done with the bar exam, you can get on with life. So they saw it as a stepping stone for me, but there were other times when they would choose words that would indicate that they really didn't think I was going to pass. So I felt like there was people actively working, maybe slightly more passively working against a positive attitude. So one person.
Yeah, I don't think you were as fragile maybe as they thought. I thought you were actually pretty tough, which is why we had the drama discussion. But I think that in the core of most people, there is this essence of desire to be better, to do better, to change their lives. We ask, what difference would it make if you passed the bar exam, right? How would it change your life? And so I guess my next question for you, because your story is really amazing and wonderful, is you did pass the bar, and I want to talk about sort of that moment, but how has it changed your life? I mean, we're now a little ways past the bar exam. What's different about your life?
In 2 weeks, I will be starting at a law firm in my hometown, doing estate planning, which is what I wanted to do, in the right size firm with an attorney that I've known all my life. We went to church together. And I'm going to be living with my grandmother, who needs a roommate or would be going into the nursing home. So that was plan A all along before I ever got into that relationship. So the next chapter gets to start right now.
Oh, I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you.
It's hard to believe that all of these pieces have fallen together so beautifully and so easily just because I gave it a shot.
Yeah.
But in the transition time, what I've been doing is working with that attorney that I lived with, and helping out her practice get caught up because of some other things that have gone on in her own life. So it's been a beautiful transition.
That's fabulous. Well, let's talk a little bit about sort of the process of studying for you and how you approach the multi-state using our course. Was there anything different about the way you studied when you came to us versus your other attempts at the exam?
Do you care if I name the big box that I used?
No, we'll throw shade on them occasionally.
I used Themis,
yeah.
And it was all online, obviously.
Yeah.
And they were very adamant that if you follow this, you will pass. If you check this list. And I did that, but it was one of those spirit of the law, letter of the law kind of things. Mm-hmm. I wasn't engaging in the content. Yeah. And I sort of knew that. But I was convincing myself that it would be okay because I was still checking off the whole list. Mm-hmm. So when I was with the celebration program, it was just laid out what I had to do. I appreciated that it wasn't a strict schedule, but that, it was, what was it, like weekly targets that we were keeping track of. Yeah. And that helped me out because I was working. I had different schedules. And then as we got closer to the bar, I was taking more and more time off of work. So I had an ever-changing schedule.
Yeah. I mean, you were working and studying and going through all of these other things in your personal life and still moving towards the goal and putting together your Michigan studies. And as I say, we were helping on the multi-state side. Yeah,
actually, that makes me mention, I mean, certain times you get advice that, well, when you're studying for the bar exam, don't have a major relationship change or don't move, don't start a new job. And I was doing all of that in the middle of starting with you.
Good job, Brenda.
Thanks.
So you go to take the bar exam, and at the bar exam, what's it feel like going back in to take the test?
It was so peaceful. It was eerily peaceful. I didn't care who else was there. It was as if everybody's faces were blurred. It was just me and the test. I mean, we were gonna go at it. Yeah. It really didn't matter. The prior administration, I was very distracted by the surroundings. It was a big basketball arena that had the floor removed, so it was just concrete, and you're in this big echoey bowl, right? Yeah. And as everybody's typing on their computer, it sounded like rain from all the keystrokes. And every time someone shifted a pencil or a chair, it caught my attention. And for whatever reason, in February, that had melted away. It was just me and the test. There was just as much going on.
Yeah.
But it was...
Yeah, a lot of our students say that. Some of them have called me the bar whisperer. That they hear my voice in their ear and nothing else.
Just so you know.
It's weird, but there it is. Okay, so you take the exam. Now you're waiting. As this interview will come out, we've got a lot of people in that waiting period, right? What advice would you give people while they're waiting for bar exam results?
Hang on.
Yeah.
That was the worst part of anything, was the waiting. In fact, I crashed. I went into a pretty deep depression because it's spun right back into, I'm not going to pass. What am I going to do? I started looking for jobs in Oregon. I was thinking about, should I just go to Burger King because, I'm going to fail. I'm not good at any of this. And all the same scripts filled my mind again. Mm-hmm. The waiting was the worst part.
Yeah, yeah. It's a killer because we do all of this work to get your mind kind of in a certain spot, and then you drop off the cliff, and the exam's over, and you kind of go, now what? And you're sitting and waiting.
And they just made us wait an excruciatingly long time this year. It was mid-May.
Okay, so that's a long time. That's a long haul. Well, tell me what results day was like. Walk me through that in our audience. Tell them what happened.
I think it was about, by this point, we're checking online. Me and my other coworker who had actually taken the bar exam 6 times to pass. So he felt the anxiety with me, and so every couple hours we were checking, and he would tell me, nope, it's not up there yet. We did that for 4 weeks, and I was about to shut my computer off on whatever day of the week, Thursday I think it was, and 4:55. I might as well check one more time. I know it's not going to be up there, but I'll just convince myself that, and then I don't have to worry about it overnight. Well, they were posted, and it's by seat number, which I had taped. When I took the exam, I took the seat number off and taped it on my refrigerator so I could just have that pictured in my mind, because of the prior one I didn't remember, and so I didn't want to experience that again. So I was scanning, trying to get down to my number, and it just said passed. And I looked again, and I called Gregory, my coworker, and I just pointed to the screen, and I couldn't say anything, and he knew exactly what had happened, and then he called the troops, and we all started crying together. So it was really wonderful, especially that the people who really didn't think I was going to pass were the first ones to find out that I did.
How nice!
So.
What a feeling! What a moment, right? Kind of.
It was excruciating, and then they wanted to go take me out to dinner, but I couldn't. I had to go back to my refrigerator and double check that it was the right number.
Sorry, folks. There's a refrigerator waiting, and
I gotta check.
Okay.
Really, the number? It really was.
Yeah, and I got a great email from you saying, oh my gosh, I've done it, made it over the top, which is such a great moment, a great success. I mean, from this sort of existential, am I even worthy of taking the exam, to passing, and now in a position where you're working as a lawyer and getting to do the things that you want to do and being able to help your family. I mean, you are the personification of what passing the bar does to change a person's life and their life story. There are people who are going to be watching and listening today who are struggling on all sorts of levels, some personal, some emotional, some substantive levels, and saying, oh man, if I could just be like her. What would you have to, what would you say to the old Brenda if you could talk to her now about, what was coming?
Don't get stuck. Don't let yourself get stuck. Don't give yourself that kind of luxury of getting stuck. You have to keep moving forward. Otherwise, nothing will change. Guaranteed results. You know what's going to happen if you don't study. Yeah. But you don't know what opportunities wait once that door can open. Yeah. Just don't stop.
Yeah. Wow, what a story! What an accomplishment. I know you're going to be an incredibly powerful member of the legal community, but in your own town, in your community, with your family, with the people that you know. And I think of your story, Brenda, as being one of those really feel-good success stories. I mean, it would have been so easy to just give up, and for you to give up on yourself, for everybody else to give up on you. But you didn't do that, and you really hung in there and did the work. You found the resources and the grit to make it happen. And if I'm looking for an attorney to represent me, I want somebody that's got that kind of grit. I mean, to me that's like, whoa, you kidding? So I am super proud of you, and I'm so appreciative that you would share your story and be open for our audience. I know it makes a difference for other people as they listen and watch these stories. Is there any other advice you'd like to offer to our listeners today? Anything else that we haven't talked about?
Only only to convince anybody's heart inside the heart that's all protected and shelled in. Just keep trying.
Yeah, just keep trying.
For a coworker who had 6 tests under him, I thought it was going to take me 7, because he was the smartest person I knew. So that was part of why it was so hard to convince myself to take it. Was, well, I'm probably not going to pass it this time, but maybe I'll just keep taking it again after that. Yeah. But just keep trying.
Yeah, that's great advice. Well, we're really pleased for you. We're very proud that we were a part of your success and that you chose Celebration Bar Review. I'm so glad you were on the webinar that day, even though you did make me just a little crazy with all the questions you asked.
I am too. That really helped me be convinced that it was a matter of that mentorship that I would get from you. That really did make a difference for me.
That's great. That's great. Well, listen, we wish you all the best. I hope that you will stay in touch with us and share your victories, because I know there are going to be lots more in your life and in your career. And this has just been, wow, I'm uplifted.
Oh.
So thank you so much, Brenda. It's been great
Likewise.
to have
Thank
you,
you.
on the Hangout today. And for the rest of you who've been watching and listening, we appreciate you joining us as well. And we'll be back again soon with another of these conversations. And for now, we're going to sign off and say thanks. So bye-bye for now.